Hi, this is Kramer Mehta from Talent Home Solutions, and we are here to have an introductory session on web programming for you to score quick. Now, if you was to start with web programming, it's better to know the architecture of a typical web. Now, when web is there in our mind, typically we think of a website or a web application that is there on the web. Now, for a website, what goes in making of a website, or how does a website run? So, typically an architecture depicts that. In a website or in any web application, I'll say, for such, we have a client, server and a database. This is a three-tier architecture. Now, what does a client mean? Client means it's a user interface. It's the screens that we see when we log into any application. For example, if we are logging into a, say, makemytrip.com, then the screen that we see on the first page, and when we click on the various buttons or links, then those screens are nothing but your user interface. On those pages, what you do is, maybe you typically register or put in some information and click on a query or a save button. When you click on those input, and when that event happens of save or submit, the request is sent to a component in the web which is called as server. Now, this server is that software that will perform your business logic. Supposing you have put in that you want a flight from Mumbai to Delhi on this particular day. Then that request has been sent to the server. This software now will do all the logic that from where I should get all this information and what to show and where to show. So this server, now if there's something data involved and the data is stored in my database, then this server will do the job of interacting with the database and come back here, get those information, put it in a format which we want to display, and go back to the client in the form of the response. So the request has been sent in, you want the details of the flight, and the response comes from the server, and you can see on the client or the user interface again those information. So this is a typical flow of a web application. Now let us consider each component at a time. When we are talking about a client, this client, as we mentioned, is a user interface, can be of two types, or your website can be of two types, a static website and a dynamic website. Now, static website is a typical website in which you just give information. There is no user interaction involved. So, for that particular website, if you just want to display the information of what you are into or what your business is into, and with some details of the products that you sell and a contact information, you typically make a static website. It's a very easy to make a website if it is a static website. There are various tools also to make the static website very fast. So a static website involves these three things or these three languages. First is HTML. Now, if the second is CSS, and third is JavaScript. Now, if you're talking about, let us have an analogy with the human body, then HTML is nothing but your skeleton. Your main information, your main presentation is there as a part of HTML. The images, the anchor, the tables, everything is built using HTML. Then what's CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. So it gives a style to your website. Now that style is typically like, if I'm comparing to my human body, the skeleton was HTML, then the skin color, that would be my CSS. So all the fonts, the font style, your color that appears onto the screen, the various aspect that gives a good look and feel to your website is through CSS. And lastly, we have JavaScript. Now this JavaScript is a scripting language which will help you to provide some dynamism to your website. For example, if you want to perform some validations, like your input should be only numbers, your telephone number should be there, which can take only input as numbers. So such kind of validations can be your JavaScript. So for a human body, the muscle power is nothing but my JavaScript. Another example is if on the screen you see the image are changing continuously, say after 5 seconds. Now that kind of programming, if you want to perform onto your website, it's done typically using JavaScript. Nowadays, there are so many libraries in market of JavaScript like jQuery, Node.js, AngularJS that help us to make your site look and feel very good in very less amount of time. So that is about static website. But if you want user interaction, you want data to be stored, data to be retrieved, like a typical Make My Trip or typical Facebook, then you need to go for a dynamic website. This involves languages like PHP, JSP, Java, ASP.NET, VB.NET, Ruby, Rails. There are so many frameworks and languages that will be involved for you to make a dynamic website. So that is, if again comparing to human body, the brain will be these languages that will help you for an user interaction, storing data in a database or the file. So after this client component, we go to the server. Now I'm talking about server as a software. So here the code resides in a language, in a format which will help you to perform your business logic. It can be a typical Java, it can be a typical PHP, which can take all your business rules and performs various action. Like if you want that, it's a bank and your minimum balance should be 5,000. So that logic will be residing at your server level. Okay, now this logic which is there at the server level requires a web server, which is again a software application which will store your all server related code. So the web server, typically you'll have a lot of web server in the market. Like if you're using PHP, you will be using Apache server. ASP.NET or VB.NET, you'll be using IIS server. If you're using Java JSPs, then you will use servers like Tomcat, WebLogic, WebSphere. There are so many servers, Glassfish and all. So that is your server component. So to run that engine or that server, you require all this web or app servers. Okay. Now, having said and done this, you know about database. So since it's also a part of the web architecture, because your web interacts here and the data is stored in the database, you need to have the connectivity between the server and the database. That is again through the code that resides here. Your database performs the job of storing the data and retrieval of the data. You can have various database management systems like MySQL, Oracle, MS Access, MS SQL Server, and so on. So this is the entire architecture or the intro of web programming. Thank you.